Right is Grace. They're going to be introduced by Eric Mark and Jane Kim, and they're going to share some of the reflections, Grace, share their reflections on what your presence here today in San Francisco means to them.
So I believe I'm first, and actually that was a wonderful performance from the Chinatown or Community Youth Center. I wanted to first say thanks to the 40-year-old Chinese Progressive Association, which is a grassroots organization that I joined with my brother Gordon in Chinatown about 3 decades ago. And I wanted to thank all the movement organizations, all the nonprofit groups, the students and the generations of activists, revolutionaries, organizers, and leaders that are here with us today. We are the 99%, as CPA says. We are the change that we've been waiting for, and we are the future and the hope of our nation and our communities. And we have Grace-lee-Boggs with us here today in Chinatown as well. I'm Eric Marr, I'm from the Board of Supervisors. I'm so honored to be here with such incredible colleagues to serve with for the city of San Francisco. Jane Kim, John-Avalos, Supervisor david-campos, sorry about that, David. The president of our board, David Chu, and our newest member, Supervisor Christina-Olague. It's such an honor to serve with my colleagues. I'm Eric Marr. I serve the Richmond District and the city, and I joined, actually I'm here at Grace's and Alex Tom's request, as we all are, but I know that Grace doesn't need any legitimacy from a local government body. She, like City Hall, she has always received true respect and organic legitimacy from our movements. And Grace, I'm always in awe of you. I met you about 15 years ago when you came out to this coast to the Serve the People conference at UCLA and the Asian Left Forum. And I know that Scott helped to organize that with Glenn Omatsu, Sun Lee, and many of the rest of us as well. But it was such an honor to meet you then. And I think I first met Alex Tom there as well. He had longer hair in those days. And from that point, I've used your philosophy, your example as an intellectual from our communities to transform my life and to be a better father, community member, and leader in our communities and in City Hall as well. And I know that the Boggs Center people are here from Detroit. I know that you, quote unquote, seek to nurture the transformational leadership capabilities of individuals and organizations committed to creating productive, sustainable, ecological, responsible, and just communities. And I know that through local, national, and international networks of activists, artists, and intellectuals, you and the center foster new ways of living, being, and thinking to face the challenges of the 21st century. So it's an honor to be here with you as well. What struck me about Grace's work over the years is how you use radical and revolutionary ideas, whether it's Marxism, socialism, or other ideas, in a manner that everyone can understand and to use to transform our communities and to connect up with broader movements in the world as well. I know that you had a great conversation with Angela Davis yesterday and students at Stanford and Berkeley, and that you're still getting around to really inspire us kind of in our communities all over the place. But I also wanted to say that your work and life remind me of others in our communities and abroad, some that I've met and worked with. For example, Yuri Kochiyama, who I believe is turning 90 very soon from the East Bay and New York, one of our fellow activists, Eric Casada from the Mission District, Apala, the labor leader, John DeLauro from Los Angeles, that I know that Scott and I work closely with, and folks like even Chris Hani from Mkoto Sizwe and the Communist Party in South Africa. But people like that, you really stand kind of together that make revolutionary ideas relevant and useful for all of us. At the U.S. Social Forum in Detroit a few years ago, many of the Progressive Workers Alliance, Right to the City Alliance, and many of us learned about the great work that you're doing in Detroit, and it's an honor to have you among us in San Francisco. Lastly, I just wanted to reveal that I'm turning 50 a little bit later this year, and I feel it every day that I wake up. But I'll just say that Grace is turning 97 on June 27th, and that is incredible. One thing that I wanted to say is that I hope that she addresses how she manages to stay so vibrant and relevant but also energetic for your work and how you inspire us so much. So I just wanted to thank the Chinese Progressive Association, my organization, kind of with many of you, and I'm looking forward to the big 40th anniversary that Untitled talked about. And it's just great to be here with Jane Kim and the rest of my colleagues as well. Thank you, everyone.
It really is an honor to be here today. Grace, with you in honor of you being here in Chinatown and in San Francisco. And although we have not personally met, I actually grew up reading your writings as a student activist in college when I was studying Asian American Studies. And I was so incredibly inspired by it, both by your leadership and the work that you've done for young people, and also coalition building with our communities of color. When I was in college, there was a poster that I used to see often in the Native American theme house, and it was a poster of an American flag, a tattered American flag. And underneath it, there was a statement that said, "Make something of it." And I had to think a lot about what that meant, because as an activist, as someone who is an organizer, you often think of yourself in opposition of the nation that you're a part of, or the country that you're a part of. And you don't often get to reflect on how in many ways you're doing the most patriotic thing, that you care so much about your country, that you wanted to make it live up to the ideals and the principles that it stands for, whether it's equity, equality, and all of the things that we espouse to. And Grace, you really, I think, stand in many ways, that epitomizes what you stand for, and what you have stood for so many young activists like me, who have been inspired by you and your work. And as we end Black History Month this past month, I have often said that I am here, and I think all of us are here on the Board of Supervisors because of Black History Month, because of the work that has happened in the African American community, the Latino Chicano community, Native American community, of course our community as well, to be where we are. And I am so grateful every day of the work and the history that has happened to allow us to be able to continue to lead and serve on behalf of our community. It's a privilege to be in this position. And I stand here actually with 5 of my colleagues of color, and we represent the city of San Francisco, and that is amazing. I mean, it's also amazing that it took so long for us to get here, given our history here in San Francisco and the state of California, but it's also something that I think that we should reflect on and appreciate the work that came before us to allow us to be here today. And Grace, it's really an honor to have you here in Chinatown, and of course to be able to honor you here in our city, so thank you. Not the whole thing. We won't read the whole proclamation, but we have several. We have several here on your behalf today. Thanks for keeping us on time. Just the last words.
Actually, I'm so lucky that I get to do this, you guys, but thank you so much, Grace, for being here. And on behalf of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors and our great city of San Francisco, we hereby proclaim March 3rd, 2012, Grace-lee-Boggs Day in the city and county of San Francisco.
What it means to be an American revolutionary. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Edwin M. Lee, Mayor of the City of San Francisco, also thereby proclaim March 3rd as Grace-lee-Boggs Day. Wow! Thank you very much. There's a group photo op, and so while you do that, I'm going to introduce the next part. So go on up and photo op. It's going to be in the newspapers, you guys. Endorsement of the new American Revolution. So, in planning for this celebration, there was a couple of requests that was made. One of them was, could there be a lion dance? So, yes, we made it happen. The other was, how about you are going to hear from 2 dynamic groups